topic name is component diagram. So what is component? Component is a modular part of the system. It is a software implementation of one or more classes. So component provides interface to other components so that other components can interact with it. In UML1, data files, tables, executables, documents, and dynamic link libraries were defined as component. In UML2, component is referred as artifact. So what is artifact? Artifact is a piece of information that component uses or produces. So why model component? So we model component and their relationship so that client can envision the structure and functionality in the finished product. Developers have an overall structure to work toward. Technical writers can provide documentation and help files can understand what they are writing about, and you are ready for reuse. So the most important aspect of component is the capability of reusability. So as you know, in today's world, the quicker you bring a component or a system in market, the greater you get competitive advantage. So if you can build a component for one system and reuse it in another, you are contributing towards that advantage. So component and interfaces. So an object hides what it does from the outside world. This concept, what is this concept called? Yes, this concept is called encapsulation or information hiding. So an interface is a set of operations that allows to access a class behavior. So how you can access a class behavior? Through interface. Example of interface is control knob of a washing machine. Through control knob, you can access operations of washing machine. So you can reach a component operation through its interface. So the relationship between a component and its interface is called realization. So next is provided and required interface. Component can make its interface available so that other components utilize interface operations. In other words, if you want to access component operation, you have to access through interface that component provides. So the component that offers the services is said to present a provided interface, and the component that accesses the service is said to use required interface. So in other words, a component can access the services of another component through interface. So next is representing component in UML1 and 2. So component diagram contains components along with interface and relationships. So in UML1, the component diagram main icon is a rectangle that has two rectangles overlaid on its left side. So then in UML2, the icon is a rectangle with the keyword component near the top. So for you can include the 1x icon inside the 2 icon as well to represent component. So these are the notations to represent component in UML2. So this diagram shows that if a component is a member of a package, you can prefix the component name with the name of the package. Like calculator is inside tools package. So you can prefix the component name with the name of the package. And you can also show the component operations in a separate panel. This figure shows how to model the relationship between a particular kind of artifact and its component. So artifact is what? Artifact is a executable file that belongs to the component. So this is these are the ways to represent the relationship between artifact and its component. So one way is to write artifact stereotype, name of the artifact, and with dotted line you represents the relationship between them. Another way is to include executable as a stereotype, as artifact is an executable file, and with the same dotted line represent the relationship between them. And in component include the UML 1.x symbol of component as well. Representing interfaces. So a component and the interfaces it realizes can be represented in two ways. The first shows the interface as a rectangle that contains interface related information. It's connected to a component by a dashed line and a large open triangle. This indicates realization. So the second way of representing the same relationship of realization is to represent the interface as a small circle connected to a component by a solid line. So this is another way of representing realization in component diagram. This diagram shows the external or black box view of modeling components interfaces. So in addition to realization, this is the realization arrow, you can represent dependency as well. So dependency is what? The relationship between a component and an interface through which it accesses another component. So this is called dependency. So dependency is visualized as a dashed line with a arrowhead. So you can represent realization and dependency on the same diagram as well. So this is another equivalent notation to represent realization and dependency in the same diagram. So it is called ball and socket notation. So the ball represents provided interface and the socket represents required interface. So this figure indicates that robot component is dependent on key interface that is provided by calculator component. You also have the option of showing an internal or white box view uh, of component diagram. So this shows the internal or white box view, shows interfaces listed inside component icon and organized by keywords, as this indicates that the robot component has required interface key. You can mention the provided and required interface of each component in the same rectangular box. Like if this component has some provided interface, you can mention it here, like with the stereotype provided interface and this name of the interface. Thank you.